fights, you're going to find out what they've got because they're in real fights, and he's also on the undercard. I mean, for those of you who were at Aaron Bowen against James Todd, fuck me, I couldn't believe when Laley accepted. I would keep well away from this geezer. He's a lunatic. But that's good. Let's find out. And our young crop of fighters right now, not just on this card, but even in Vegas last week, Zaquin Moses, Harley Medeiros, Nishant Dev, Amari Jones, Tera Moana. We've got unbelievable global talent, and this is these boys and girls' turn to shine on Friday.
You hear often about Eddie Hearn gets fighters beat. I think people are starting to warm to the fact that you put prospects in actual hard fights.
But it's the weirdest sport in the world, and fight fans are lunatics, and I am one of them. But it's like you put someone in a mismatch, you get ridiculed, and you put someone in a competitive fight where they're supposed to win but get beat, and it's terrible matchmaking. What are you doing? You have to, even when you're building a fight, it's at least got to be competitive. But especially when they get to 6, 7, 8, 10 and 0. Like, if you're that good, and that's what I keep saying, life is full of levels, and if you're not at that level, there's another level below it, and if you're beyond that level, there's another level above it. And if you get beat, it just means that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean you can't be good enough in the future, but right now, Rubalcava's a good example. I don't know if you watched that fight. Not good enough. He drew the fight, but I thought he lost. The performance was not telling me this young man is going to go on and be a world champion. Now, maybe he goes away, he works harder, he gets it right, you can come again. But the level that I need is world-class fighters. So if you're not a world-class fighter or have the potential to be a world-class fighter, this ain't for you. And that is the brutality of the business. But there's other levels for you.
Sorry, what do you expect from George on Friday night?
A statement. I mean, he's looked really good, but this is another level of step up. Hard puncher, George, very fit, fundamentals improving all the time, but a real test, and that's what we want. So statements is what we want from all young prospects.
Pro boxing fans, who's in the running for Anthony Joshua, and what do you make of Dillian Whyte saying that he's finished?
Yeah, I mean, Dillian Whyte, his performance against Ebenezer Tete didn't really set the world alight. But Dillian's obviously, they've always had the little thing, and Dillian's a great fighter. But I think AJ is, before the Daniel Dubois fight, he was the most dangerous man in the heavyweight division. Now he's finished. So you're only as good as your last fight. AJ's got a lot to prove. In terms of opponents, nothing to tell you really. I mean, obviously we'll be watching February 22nd very closely. But at the same time, if we don't fight the winner of Dubois against Parker, who is there? Martin Bakole, Deontay Wilder, the Zhang Kabiao winner. We've got to fight someone, and we will fight someone because he's going to fight. Who that will be is probably not a decision that will be made for another 3 or 4 weeks, and obviously we'll see what happens in Riyadh.
Do you agree with Bellew saying that Fury's still the second best heavyweight, even though he's retired? But in general, would he? Tony Bellew.
Well, he's fired, isn't it? I mean, I can't believe it. No. Probably. I mean, again, you're only as good as your last fight. I thought Fury put up a good performance against Usyk. AJ, not a very good performance against Daniel Dubois. So, resume-wise, I will always stand by AJ's resume is on another level to Tyson Fury's. But I just hope they fight one day.
Eddie, it's fair to say if George Liddard and Junaid Bostan are the fighters that you think they are and we think they are, they should perform very well on Friday night.
Yeah, but if they don't, they might not be. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I always say in my interviews after a prospect either gets beat or fails to come through this level. People think that it's harsh, or people think that it's like, life is harsh. Boxing's really fucking harsh. If you can't beat English title level opposition or fringe British title level opposition, you are not for Matchroom. People go, let's not beat around the bush. I want elite world-class fighters. And if you're not, you'll get opportunities, but don't expect us to double down our investment, fight you all over the world, get behind you with the team, run your social. We need to breed and build stars. Now, there's also stars and there's people that can sit on undercards and maybe one day turn into stars. Conor Walker's a good example, right? Has had 2 fights of the year against Cyrus Patterson and Lewis Crocker, and we're looking at him as, like, I look at Lewis Crocker and I say, he's always welcome. Right? Sells a load of tickets, always in a great fight. Then he goes and wins a British and Commonwealth title. Now it's like, okay, maybe you can headline in a big fight in Wolverhampton. But, you know, it doesn't, it's not like, but at this level of young fighter, it's a bit like Maisie, yeah? She lost when she wasn't expected to lose. We keep her on, we give her her chances. She has 2 warm-up fights with John Ryder, and this is the last one, and then she's in another fight like Jasmina, or the rematch, or Laura Payne. And if you lose that, this ain't for you. But let me make that clear before the fact, not after it. Do you know what I mean? So if George was to lose, or Junaid was to lose, doesn't mean they won't come back with us, but don't expect to be at the front of the queue when you've got Zaquin Moses, Nishant Dev, Tera Moana, Harley Medeiros, you know, all these people. And every performance that you deliver will put you in the standing for your development. That's why, and it will put you in great standing for activity. So Taylor Bevan comes on in Birmingham, I'm like, wow, right, I'll go to Tom Dallas, get him out again, ASAP. Now, if someone looked average, I don't say to Tom Dallas, get him out again ASAP. So your activity and your support and your momentum is always based on your performance, particularly at this level.
For sure as well, and obviously in the last few weeks you saw the announcement of Ben Eubank as well at Spurs. I was speaking to Alex Lagavelle at Long's ABC the other day. That event has a massive opportunity to kind of, for the community engagement and inspire the next generation of people in boxing, doesn't it? It's going to be absolutely massive in April 2020.
Yeah, because you get fights, like we're a little bit blinded as people because we're the hardcore boxing community. So you get some people moaning about it, you know, oh, I don't like that fight anyway, so I'm not even interested in that fight. And then, like, all my mates that just go to AJ fights are phoning me non-stop saying, how do we get tickets, when do we get tickets? Like, that is a fight that captivates the country, not just the fight fans. And that's when you've got a big event. So the press conferences, which will begin week commencing 24th of February, there's 3 of them, and there'll be massive public events. And that's how you build a fight to the wider public. Good Morning Britain, you know, all of these outlets, you know, BBC News, these are the outlets that are going to cover this kind of fight away from the boxing fraternity. So yeah, like any big fight in Britain is just a shot in the arm, even for grassroots, because young kids are watching big fights and saying, I want to be a part of it.
What's the latest on Katie Taylor?
Nothing really. I mean, we are in negotiations, I would say, early negotiations to fight Amanda Serrano. And, you know, there's a time frame with the WBC where we look to get that done, and we'll probably write to them this week. That's the fight that makes most sense. If we can't make that, we'll look at the Chantel Cameron fight for sure. Beyond that, you know, they're really the 2 fights. I think there's 2 things that Katie Taylor hasn't done, and that's Croke Park and Vegas. So it would be great to tick one of those off the box as we approach the end. She won't mind me saying, I think, because, you know, her, AJ, a lot of these fighters, Fury, Usyk, they're all coming to the end. 2, 3 fights, and then, you know, it's roll off into the sunset. So, you know, live the dream and achieve what you can.
Eddie, just on Ben Eubank, who do you think faces the bigger challenge? Is it Chris Eubank Jr. coming back down to 160 with that rehydration?
How's he coming back down? What was his last fight at?
160.
Exactly. But this narrative of, Eubank's got to make 160, it's his fight weight. The hydration, he makes easy. It's not even like, that's really just a bit of fuckery, you know, with Ben and like the whole thing. Our job, and also it's a little bit of common sense to say, if you've got a smaller man at 147 coming up to middleweight, we don't believe that you should. And also, don't forget, when Kell Brook went up to fight Gennady Golovkin at middleweight, guess what? There was a hydration clause with the IBF, and Gennady Golovkin makes it absolutely easily, as will Chris Eubank. But it's just, that's our job. And I mean, no need to moan about it. If you didn't want to do it, you didn't have to have it in there. But they know it's not a big deal. But who is at the bigger disadvantage? Conor Benn, coming up 2 divisions. And Chris Eubank just weighs in what he always weighs in. You know, that whole, they're stripping him down to 160. It's his fucking weight. I don't understand. Stop listening to Simon Jordan. You?
Where do you think all the commotion comes from, and all this big uproar about this rehydration clause? Where do you think it all originates from?
Because it's just an easy thing. Like, if you don't understand the business of making weight, if you don't understand the fact that someone is 147, and look, you know, like what's his name, Bomac comes out, yeah. Right, fuck the rehydration. We ain't doing no rehydration. They won't get one. Bomac knows, Terence Crawford knows, Canelo Alvarez will go, I'm Canelo Alvarez, fuck off. I ain't doing a rehydration. Do you want the fight or not? Eubank could have done the same thing. He accepted the rehydration. Right? The reality is, of course, Terence Crawford would like a rehydration clause. He's another one, same thing, 2 divisions. He's a 154-pound fighter. He will weigh 164 pound, 165 pound on the scales probably. He'll probably come in at 168, and Canelo will come in at 185 pounds. Right? It's a stone. He'll be giving away a stone in that fight. And Conor Benn will probably come in at 156, and he will probably weigh 160, 161 on the night, and Eubank will be 175 in the ring.